Hi, I'm Laura Maniec, and I'm so excited and thrilled to share this pack with you. Spain and Portugal, two of the most unbelievable wine producing countries in the world. I guess it's a good thing and a bad thing that Spain and Portugal, because they're same peninsula, they're not as well known as France or Italy. And I mean, I know so many people that are passionate about these wines, like just literally feel so strongly, but you know, luckily for us, not everyone's watching, and there's still some really exceptional values. So in this pack we have an Albariño from Spain. It's from this region called Galicia, and Galicia is on the coast, and the fish, the crudo, the shellfish, they're unbelievable, and the wines from that area go perfectly. So this Albariño is summertime, some gambas, some grilled shrimp, and this wine, you will not be disappointed. Then I'm sending you an Encruzado. So it's Encruzado blend from Portugal, and I think about this summer fresh, citrusy, squeeze it on an oyster. This wine tastes like that. So you're gonna have a wine called Prunus, which is a white wine from Portugal, and it's delicious. A couple weeks ago, I introduced you to a grape called the Jaén, and I was like, Jaén, it's also known as Mencía from Spain. Well, this is how we connect dots, because this week I'm sending you a red wine from the Valdeorras region of Spain from the Mencía grapes. So did Jaén come before Mencía, or did Mencía come from Jaén? I don't really care, but what I really like is that you're like, oh, I know that grape. I had it 2 weeks ago. This is the difference. And last but not least, a delicious red wine from Alentejo. Alentejo is this southern region of Portugal, which is this beautiful beach town. It means beyond, and Alentejo is beyond the Tajo River. And this is a red blend that's just juicy and jammy and sure to please your Napa Valley wine friends. This is an Albariño, and the first wine is Albariño from Rías, Baixas, which is a region on the coastline, the Atlantic coast of Spain. And Albariño is a grape that they say could be related to Riesling, and so Albariño, or of the Rhine. It's really exciting to me. Whenever I teach people about blind tasting and I'm like, do you want to know what Albariño is like? I always say it's the fruit of a Riesling. Maybe another kind of grape that you can compare it to is Sauvignon Blanc. So you have fruity, fresh peaches like Riesling, and then citrus and lemon and lime like a Sauvignon Blanc. However, both of those two wines are not at all what this wine tastes like. It's just the good of both of those two wines. So the body is medium. It's not really overly acidic. It has a freshness, but it also has a weight to it that's more oily, or just kind of a little more textured. I also say that Albariño, because it's so close to the Atlantic Ocean, it often smells like sea, like the sea breeze, fresh summer nights, salty, and has a little bit of floral qualities, almost like lilies. So, salted lilies, anyone? This is our Albariño. It's delicious. It just finishes shucking an oyster. Our second wine in the pack is a wine which is from the DAO. So the name is DAO with a little accent. Or when I was there, I was working with the Portuguese government on some, ambassadorship, where I was promoting different wine regions just to help bring the Portuguese wines to the American market. And when I was in this region, they said it's down, you're going down. Anyway, who knows? Down. This is the region, and the grape is a grape that's called Encruzado. And when you're in Portugal, you will have tons of Encruzado in this area. So this wine has a little bit of spritz quality to it. So when I poured it, I saw these little teeny fine bubbles, and it almost looked like a sparkling wine. It didn't keep going, or it wasn't persistent in the bubbles, but it was just the teeniest bit of effervescence, or spritzig, or frizzante. There's so many names for it depending on the country. But the gist is, it's not a bad thing. That little bit of bubbles is almost like really refreshing and wakes your palate up. However, I did want to say that if you see those bubbles in a red wine, it's not a good thing. Most red wine should be still without bubbles. With that said, this is encruzado, and there's a little bit of another grape called Malvasia and Bisal. Anyway, a lot of these wines, when you see and you haven't heard of them, they're going to be indigenous or local grapes, and this wine has like the perfect richness, especially if you have these two wines, the Spanish and the Portuguese, in the same night. This is definitely a step up. Encruzado can be like Chardonnay in some ways, that it's like yellow apple and like mired lemon, has a little bit more texture, and this wine is creamy even though it doesn't have an oak finish. Again, man, that's so good. It has like the littlest bit of floral on the end, and it's creamy and salty. It's like, you know the difference between like an East Coast oyster and a West Coast oyster? There's always like those delicious Kumamoto oysters where they like manage to be both creamy and salty and rich at the same time. I have to go get some oysters. Our third wine is a delicious red wine from the Valley of Gold. The region is called Valdeorras, and Valdeorras is in Spain. And it's this amazing region which is like on the banks of the Sil River, and this area used to be mined for gold. And before it was, well, I should say after the Romans mined it for gold, they started planting vines and growing grapes there. And I think one of the best things about wine is the history, and just like learning a little bit and being able to travel to a new region and then like maybe speak a little bit about what the grapes are, what the region is, and really engage and immerse yourself in the history of these wines. So as I mentioned, the grape here is wine, in this wine rather, is a grape called Mencía. And Mencía is also known as Jayan. And I had sent you a wine from Portugal from the Jayan grape a few packs back. If you haven't got, if you didn't get it, if you weren't a member yet, you're more than welcome to email customer service and ask them if we still have the Summer Lovin' Beach Pack, because it had the same grape and it's really fun. But if you do have it, I highly recommend you get out that bottle of Prunus red and you try it amongst the Villanova Mencía. So Mencía, what is it? It's a red grape that is light-bodied. I mean, you can just see from this color, it's super light, almost like the body of Pinot Noir, or if you love Beaujolais, it's very similar to Beaujolais. This is an unoaked red wine. You want to chill it in the summer, keep it like in the fridge, and it's the perfect like red strawberry, granite, little bit of dark like floral quality. Oh my god, smoky on the finish, and almost like filet mignon. Like it has a ton of texture, but it has a lot of like silky brown qualities to it too. So if you're having duck, turkey burgers, or filet mignon, this Mencía is for you. Our last and final wine is the José de Sousa, which is a red blend from Alentejano. And this is a really exciting wine because it totally contrasts the last wine from Spain, the Mencía. So this is a grape which is 52% Grand Noir. And Grand Noir is like, you know, because of course all the cool kids are drinking Grand Noir. Grand Noir is a blend or a crossing of a grape called Petit Bouschet and Aramon Noir. Like never before did you think you were going to try these grapes. Anyway, that grape formed Grand Noir, and then you have a little bit of Trincadeira and another grape called Aragonês. So anyway, I love to throw in my Portuguese accent, but really more importantly, what does this wine taste like? So South Central Portugal, very warm. It's the home of pork, which we use to close the bottles. And a lot of times you'll see in this southern region, just south of this area called Algarve, Like almost 90% of the world's porks come from this region. So it's an exciting region because it's relatively up and coming. It's like unbelievably beautiful for beach towns. If you think about Ibiza or the French Riviera, like you need to be thinking about Alentejo in the same sentence. As I mentioned, it means beyond the Tejo. So it's very far, southern, beautiful beach town. But the reds are pretty serious. It's like a Napa Cab. Maybe not quite a Napa Cab. Maybe it's more like a Malbec. It's just dark, rich, sulky, intense, but it finishes so smooth. Thanks for joining us for another weekly episode of The Weekly Tasting. I'm Laura Maniec, and it's my great pleasure to share my favorite wine regions with you. Spain and Portugal, you know, you need to think about them anytime you're hosting a dinner party. If you're in trouble and you feel like all of a sudden I need to serve 40, 50 people and I don't want to spend a lot of money, I think you really need to think about Spain and Portugal as those go-to regions for all great value. And not to mention, there's so many grapes that you haven't heard of. So I hope you enjoy these packs, and until next time, cheers.